Hey everyone, Rabbi Abe here. So, have you ever wondered what is the right attitude? How do we deal with things to bring us to the best place possible? Because sometimes we have decisions to make, and the initial decision that we make right away, how we react to a situation, very often, if not always, will determine the end of the situation. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss the attitude of the patriarchs, believe it or not, and how the patriarchs and also how Moses dealt with very difficult situations to bring about the ultimate success that they all actually achieved. And it starts actually in the portion of Exodus, the end of chapter 6. And just to set the frame, Moses was sent by God to free the Israelites, and he went to show Pharaoh, magic that his staff could create a snake and so on. And Pharaoh basically said, "Well, who is your God? That I should let the people go? I don't recognize the Tetragrammaton. I don't recognize Adonai. Who is he that I should listen to him?" Okay. So, first off, we should understand that Pharaoh doesn't represent necessarily a king that lived in ancient times in Egypt. It does also, but it represents the part of us which is the ego, which is the difficulty, which is selfish desires that block us from moving forward in life. Keep that in mind. All right. So, in any event, not only things didn't get better, in chapter 6, right at the end, right at the beginning of chapter 6, it says, God said to Moses, Moses, right at the end of chapter 5, verse 22, Moses comes back to God and he says, Lord, why did you send me? Why did you send me to these people? Because from the time that I went to talk to Pharaoh, not only he didn't let them go, things got worse. Everything got worse. And God says, don't worry. This is the way you see it now. But not only is he going to let them go, he's going to push them out. He's going to, the word is actually force them out. He's going to force them out. All right. Then in the beginning of chapter 6, it says something very funny. It says that God, it says, Vayedaber Elohim, I have to read it in the Hebrew, Vayedaber Elohim el Moshe. Now this is one of the names, Elohim, some of you might be familiar with it. Elohim spoke with Moshe, with Moses, and says, I am Adonai. I am the Tetragrammaton. Okay, two names are being used. It's translated God, I don't know, God spoke to Moses, and then Yud K Vav K, the Tetragrammaton, says, I am that. So, one thing is speaking, now another thing. And then the next thing it says is equally kind of curious. It says, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in two names, El Shaddai. So, I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in El Shaddai, which are two other names entirely, Ushmi Adonai lo nadati lahem. But my name, Adonai, Yud K Vav K Tetragrammaton, was not known to them. I didn't appear that way. I appeared in these other two names, Kel Shaddai. All right. What are we trying to understand over here? And by the way, this in the preceding paragraphs, Moses will bring about the first 7 plagues on Egypt. 10, of course, we know all together, but the first 7. So, what's the idea? Well, what is it that God was telling Moses after Moses said, look, not only I didn't make things better, I made it worse. It's worse now. It's worse situation. And God says, don't worry, He's going to let them go. Now, you have to understand that this whole idea of Egypt represents our slavery, okay? It's not about Israelites were 3,500 years ago in Egypt, 210 years, slavery, and also, yeah, it's also about that. But we don't read this story just to get a history lesson over here. We are all slaves to something, and I'll get more into that afterwards, but we are slaves to the physical world. We're slaves to physical limitations. We have slavery to illness, God forbid. We have slavery to, sometimes things hold us slavery. We can be slaves to anything. Anything that we give over control of our energy to, we have created a slavery. We've made that a God to us, and it controls us. Can be money, can be fears, can be other people. We give power, control over to that. That is called the idol worship of Egypt. And so we can be slaves to just about anything. And we appoint anyone as a Pharaoh over us to control our life. Think about that while you're listening to this, because this is how you get free. But, so we have to understand, what does it mean? What does God mean that I appeared to the patriarchs in one way, and they didn't know this name? I appeared to them with two other names, and now I appear to them in this name. What? I'm appearing to you in this name. These two names are different levels than Moses was given. What are the different levels of the patriarchs? What does that mean? They were given very, very difficult tests, all of them. Abraham had 10 different levels of tests. Fire, all the tests of Abraham. Isaac was nearly sacrificed. And just don't think, for those of you who may not understand, that Isaac was 37 years old in the time of that Abraham was told to go slaughter him. It wasn't a little, an infant in a cloth that, an infant that doesn't know what's going on. He was 37 years old, and he agreed to be sacrificed on an altar. And just before, and by the way, he was so scared. His nickname is Pachad Yitzchak in Hebrew. Pachad Yitzchak, the fear of Isaac. Because Isaac represents something, and he went through such a fear. The sages explain that Abraham went through something that we might call a clinical death. And therefore, even though all the patriarchs and the prophets were called twice by the Creator, Avraham, Abraham, Jacob, Isaac is only once, Isaac. He's never called twice. Why? Because his soul, part of his soul left him and went to the spiritual world, and he was left only with one part of his spirit, which is called the good inclination, without now going into all the details. Because that part left when he had absolute certainty he was going to die in that moment. Anyway, the point is, many, many tests. Jacob went through misery for 130 years, and only the last 17 years of his life, he considered good. And they were in Egypt, incidentally. So what does it mean that, God is telling Moses, listen, I appeared to them in one way, and I'm appearing to you in another way. And basically, what God is telling Moses, that spirituality, if you really want to be a spiritual person, if you really want to reap the benefits of a connection, a true connection to the Creator, it ain't easy. It doesn't come easy. These two names are not absolute clarity. They are not a clear path of what we need to do. They are not, certainty that we would expect to have if we would have a pure faith and we would have understand what we need to do today. Everything that's very clear to us. Nothing is clear to us. We have confusion. We have all sorts of obstacles in life. God forbid, there's diseases in life, and there's all kinds of issues that we have that is represented by spiritual work that we need to work through. Spiritual work that we need to work through. whatever it is, in earning a livelihood, in gaining our health, or in finding the right relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be easy, especially if I'm on a spiritual path. Why? I mean, some people think, and I've seen this time and time again, I've experienced it myself, that, you spend your life one way, you spend maybe the first 30, 20, 40 years of your life in one way, then you decide one day, you know what? Wow, I see the light. Yeah, now I want to be spiritual. I want to be a spiritual person. And now we sometimes expect everything should just change, transform, because I decided that I want to be spiritual now. So everything should change. Sometimes we have expectations of spiritual path. One of the greatest Kabbalists says, sometimes it's better not even to be spiritual, because at least then we don't have expectations. We expect now we became spiritual, we come back to our fold, whatever it is, and now everything transforms automatically. Things become wonderful and great and amazing, and everything is clear for us. No, it doesn't work that way. We still have stuff we need to clean up. And that's even when we've chosen our spiritual path, what it is that we need to do. We need to remove the garbage. We need to cleanse, perhaps. We need to overcome certain things, patterns in life. How are we going to feel about it? I mean, are we going to quit when the tough times come? That was the patriarchs. They were there to teach us that they were not searching for easy. They were not searching for easy. They were searching for what they needed to do to clear the path for humanity. And that's why they're called chariots. Moses is also a chariot. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob represent Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet of the tree of life, if you understand what that means. The chariot means they laid the groundwork for the rest of humanity, because they broke through certain things. That happens today with regular people. There was a time that nobody ever ran a 4-minute mile, and then one guy, one day, he broke the record. All of a sudden, he cleared the path. Other people began to also do it. Before that, it was considered impossible. So we have opportunities to use these chariots, and they are, these chariots, the biblical chariots, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, King David. These are the chariots of what are called the Shield of David. You would find that download on RabbiAbe.com. And the chariots, all these tools that we have that relate to these Sefirot of the Tree of Life. And how do we get out of our bondage? How do we get out of slavery? Because we tend to think the difficult work is a slavery, when it's not. It's the pathway, it's the doorway to the clarity, to the healing, to the relationship. That's what it is. But it depends on your attitude. How do you feel about it? Are you complaining through the hard work? Or are you saying, wow, thank God, I can cleanse, I can remove the garbage that I created, maybe in previous times, in previous years, yesterday, last week, I can cleanse it out. Attitude is 99% of the consciousness that we need to have to tap into the Creator's light. The Talmud, which is part of the scripture, of course, says something that we should all understand. Okay? And this is how, ideally we would like to run our life. It says the following. Yagata umatzata ta'amin. If you truly worked, you did the spiritual work, you did the physical work, and you receive, believe it. The receiving is real. Whatever the benefit that comes to you, the blessings that come to you, believe it. It's true. Lo yagata umatzata al ta'amin, lo la'amin. Don't believe it. Meaning, if you didn't do the work, if you didn't make the effort, if you really didn't rise to the occasion when difficulties came, Don't believe it. Whatever you see, you think it's a blessing, it will go away. It will be short-lived. It's not real. It's only an opportunity for you to do the work. Don't think that you arrived. Yagata velo matzata al ta'amin. If you truly did do the work, and you don't see the blessings, you don't see the results of your labor, don't give up. Don't believe it. It's not true. The blessing is there. Just push. Just push a little more. When you feel like you're going to give up, just give it, just give it the extra mile. Break the wall. You'll see the blessings shortly. Don't believe that everything that you've done is for naught. Please understand, no energy is ever wasted. No energy that we ever put into anything ever just goes away. It doesn't go away unless we think we wasted our time. There's no such thing as the wrong job. There's no such thing as the wrong relationship. Are there better? Yeah. But right now, you're earning it. You're working towards it. That's the mindset. Because we are given what we're given to do while we're doing that. And then when we're ready, when we've earned, when we've done when we filled that box, the next thing, however it's going to come about, will come about. Then it will. And then we get to that next space on the board. But don't think, no energy is ever wasted. This is how we need to work with the spiritual world. My teacher used to say that all the difficulties that we face in our life, they're an illusion. God forbid, even an illness, it's an illusion. The fact that you don't have money, it's an illusion. And very often we didn't understand. What are you talking about? I mean, it's an illusion? What do you mean it's an illusion? But I'm in pain, I'm suffering, and this problem, I can't pay my bills. How is that an illusion? God, exactly? What do you mean it's an illusion? So my teacher didn't mean to say that it's not difficult or that you don't have to go through it. You do. But the illusion is that it began here and now. That's not what it means. Because, when it says in chapter 10 of Exodus, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe bo el Paro. God said to Moses, come to Pharaoh. Come to Pharaoh. What do you mean, come to Pharaoh? Even in the English translation, it doesn't say come to Pharaoh, because that wouldn't make sense. But the translators just, shifted the meaning a little bit just to make it make sense. Because what it means is come to Pharaoh. It says here, go to Pharaoh. That makes sense. Go to Pharaoh. And I will venture to guess any Bible that you have, chapter 10 in Exodus, and verse 1 says, go to Pharaoh. But that's not what it says. You can't change the meaning just to make it fit. You have to understand, first off, what it says literally, and then understand through the Kabbalah what it's saying. Bo el Paro, come to Pharaoh, meaning what? And what the Zohar explains here is what we all need to understand. You want to change your reality? You cannot change it from here. You have to go to where Pharaoh is. What is Pharaoh? Pharaoh is about the consciousness of the negativity, the selfish desire that we have. You want to change things? We have to learn how to shift our consciousness. That doesn't belong to this world. There's a shadow, there's a hand that's creating the shadow. Trying to change the shadow on the wall, it's never gonna happen. That's trying to change physical circumstances from the physical world. You can't do it. That's why it's an illusion. It's only a shadow. You want to change things? You must go into the spiritual world. That's where Pharaoh is. He's in the spiritual world. The world of consciousness. The world where we can do different actions and create different results. That's the meaning. Go to Pharaoh. Go to the world of the consciousness, the spiritual level. Learn how to work spiritually so that the physical world will net different results. You want to do that. And therefore, that's when the exile ended with those plagues, whatever the end, because the three last plagues, the three final plagues represent what? Consciousness, the upper three levels of the tree of life. Keter, Chokhmah, and Bina, which represent consciousness, nothing in the physical world. So it's a clue, it's a hint to us that if we want to change things in our life, we must do it from the spiritual world. We must do spiritual tools. The tools in back of me, the 72 names of God, available. Go to the download it on my website, rabbieabe.com. We must use the tools. The Kabbalists are clear. We want to create change, we have to do it from the spiritual world. The number one tool are using Hebrew letters, whoever you are. You don't need to understand Hebrew. Understand what I'm saying? Those letters, those words behind me are not words, they're combinations of letters. You couldn't read them even if you can read the Hebrew. You need to look at them. And they have meanings. One for health, one for removing negativity, getting rid of negativity, one for removing evil eye, one for whatever, for more success, more abundance. Different names have different influence. Where on the spiritual world where Pharaoh is, that's where we need to work. If you're trying to change things from the physical level, you will never be able to, because it's too late. It's already a result of something else that already happened in the spiritual world. How could you possibly change it from the physical world? That's the lesson. That's why it's an illusion. And we're busy with the illusion. We're busy trying to do this and do that. You know, you have to change your head first. You have to use spiritual tools. You have to use consciousness. Then you can change. You might not see the change right away, but change will happen. And this is the lesson. Don't think that just, because you see, sometimes you see good happening. Did you really earn that good? Did you really go to the spiritual world? Did you change it from the spiritual world? Then it'll last. Then it's a blessing. And it will lead to other, better, good, and better and better. That's the blessing that the light wants to give all of us. We just have to create the place to be able to receive it. Be blessed, guys, and I will see you soon on the next video. All the best and lots of love.